Welcome to this presentation on taking your MCAT in January. My name is Angel, and I will take you through the gamut, the whole process from top to bottom of planning and what to do when you're studying and all that sort of stuff if you want to test in January. So, what better thing to get started with than the MCAT itself? Let's talk for a moment about the actual exam. There's a whole lot of stuff on it. Chemistry, physics, critical analysis and reasoning, biology, biochemistry, psychology, sociology, all those kinds of things. These are all classes that you probably will have taken or are taking right now. The thing that makes the MCAT different about how you would have seen this in undergrad stuff is that on the MCAT, it's not chemistry in its box, physics in its box, biochemistry in its separate box, biochemistry, all these things in their separate boxes. These things are tested interdisciplinarily, right? Because science on the MCAT is not individual science like individual classes. Science on the MCAT is human science. And in the human body, all these things are happening together. And so you are going to be tested on them in an equally interdisciplinary kind of manner. On the cars section, it's kind of the oddball section, except not really, because critical analysis and reasoning. Hey, want to talk about necessary skills that you need as a doctor, as a physician, right? You need to be able to parse through large pieces of language, pick apart the most important stuff, figure out what the main ideas are, how they apply to various other circumstances, and determine the best course of action. So even though the cars section may test you on Pablo Picasso or Tsar Nicholas II, the way that it's going to test you on those things and the way that it's going to force you to think about what the authors are saying about these things is very, very, very clinically relevant. It really, really is. So there's a lot to do. There's a lot to study for. Where do you even begin? Where do you even start? Well, a great place to start is by budgeting the appropriate amount of time that you're going to need to succeed on this thing, because boy, do you need a lot. Take a look at this quotation from the AMC here. The AMC reports that students on average spend 20 hours a week for 3 months. That's a lot of studying. That's a long time. And that's the average student. So 20 hours a week for 3 months. What score is that student getting? They're getting a 500. So what do? We got to do better than that. 240 hours is the average. If you want to score above average, you need to study above average. That's why we recommend at least 300 hours of dedicated prep to get that competitive edge. Because these days, more than ever, you need that competitive edge. The admission process, it's very, very, very holistic. Every component of your application matters, and you got to make sure that your MCAT is up to par with all the rest of the great stuff that you're doing. So very, very important that you get that competitive edge. Very, very important that you're giving yourself that time you need to succeed. Very important that you're budgeting that time. So how much time do you need? Take a look at this. This calculation thing will help you to figure out how much time you're going to need. Let's just say you know when you want to test. I want to test in roughly 16 weeks. I want to test in January, let's say. What you can do is you can take this 300-hour goal that we recommend, or 350 or even 400. You could take that, divide it by the number of weeks that you plan on giving yourself, and what you will get is the number of hours that you need to study in a week. If you see that number and you're just like, no way, I don't have that kind of time to commit to this thing, I maybe only have 13 hours to spend in a single week. Well, you can do that exact same calculation, but in the other direction. What you can do is you can take whatever hourly goal you're going to set for yourself, divide 300 by that number, and give yourself the number of weeks that you need. Maybe you actually need 24 weeks. That's going to be, let's say, in March. Which, hey, nothing wrong with testing in March. Testing in January, testing in March puts you in a very, very good timeline to get your applications in as soon as they open in May in either case. So nothing wrong with testing in March. If you are set on testing in January, there's a lot that you need to make sure you are doing for yourself in order to put yourself at the best place to succeed. You got to have at least 20 hours per week. And 20 hours is a good benchmark, maybe if you're going to start or have started in August or September or something like that. If you're starting late September, getting into October, even November, you're going to need to be pushing like 30 hours per week if you really, really, really want to give yourself the best opportunity to succeed in January. So you got to have a lot of time. You got to have your prereqs taken. You got to have your prereqs taken. If you're planning to test pretty soon, want to have as much knowledge up there in the can beforehand so that we're not having to learn so much new stuff, so we can prioritize picking up MCAT skills, MCAT relevant skills. Making sure you're giving yourself that availability, right? Send whatever emails you got to send, make whatever phone calls you got to make, if people even call people on the phone anymore. Do that so that you're giving yourself that availability. Your research team leads, all the clubs, associations that you're a part of, let them know that you're going to be busy because, yeah, you are going to be busy if you're doing this MCAT stuff. And absolutely make sure that you've cleared out your winter break. Your winter break is probably going to be where your most productive studying happens. That's going to be your weekly practice exam prep cycle review phase. So really, really want to make sure that you're giving yourself that time. Basically, make your MCAT a priority. Make your MCAT a priority. Take it seriously. Give it the time and availability that you need, because if you don't, you're probably going to fall into at least 3 of these pitfalls. You're probably going to give yourself an overloaded fall semester. You're going to try and cram your studies only in the winter break, only do an MCAT when you can fit it in. These are really, really not conducive to productive and successful MCAT studying. Treat it like a priority. Don't treat it like a little side thing that you're doing on the side. The MCAT is a notoriously bad side hustle. Don't mess with that. It doesn't end up good. So you don't want to do those things. This last pitfall here, comparing your rate of progress to others, you can very well be giving yourself absolutely the best chance to succeed and still find yourself doing this. That one's hard, especially in today's day and age. The most important thing to remember is that everyone is different. Your scenario is different from someone else's scenario. And it's very easy to read people's discussions online and kind of put yourself in their position. Just like, oh, they're taking the MCAT just like I am. They must be in a similar position as I am, right? Well, not necessarily. We don't know what they've been doing. We don't know if this is their first time, their second time, their third time. They're doing their own thing, right? And you're doing your thing. You're running your own race. They are running their race. Let them run their race. Let yourself run your own race. So don't compare yourself too much to other people. Because they're different. They may not even be telling the truth. They may not even be real. They may be a bot, right? So you know, imagine getting all upset because of you don't want to do it. So make an effort to keep that to a minimum. That can be hard to do in this day and age. We understand, but there's a lot that you got to do. There's a lot of time that the thing is going to take. So what are you going to do with all that time? What are you going to fill that up with? Well, what you're going to fill that up with is a lot of practice. Practice, and review. Active forms of study. Make sure you're getting a lot of practice exams in. Ideally, 8 at the minimum, 8, 10, 11, right? If you have room for it. You can never, ever do too much practice for this thing. And for the MCAT, it's absolutely going to take it. So make sure that you're planning to take many practice exams. Make sure you're spacing them out. Spaced repetition is really, really important. You don't need to pack them in so tightly at the start. At the start, you do maybe one full length every 2-3 weeks. But when you're getting into that prep cycle, sort of like winter break kind of time, when you're going to be doing weekly practice exams, yeah, they got to be weekly. Otherwise, you're not going to be making as much progress as you could. Studying regularly scheduled blocks, 3 hours with a 10-minute break. Find a couple hours in your day here and there. And make a plan to study during that time. Give yourself that break, right? Don't overdo it, but find whatever time you can and study. Again, blocks are really, really great. Pomodoro method is awesome. So find some blocks. Quality over quantity. You don't need to be doing massive 10-hour-long study binges. Actually, that's not really going to help you very much. That's probably just going to burn you out. What's really, really, really good to do is little bits here and there. 2-3 hours here and there and there and there and there. Stack those up, and those will add up. Those will build up into a very, very fantastic MCAT score. So regular study blocks, pick a few topics to study from, and then focus on doing some active and engaged practice. Even if you're not super familiar with the material that you're going, even if you just looked at the summary page on the review book or something, the review chapter of the textbook, you just did the bulleted summaries. Okay, let's do a quiz, right? You wouldn't jump into a quiz with that little prep like on an undergraduate assignment, but when you're studying for your MCAT, who cares how you do on the quiz? You're not taking these quizzes. You're not doing all this studying so that you can score super highly on the quizzes. You're taking the quizzes so that you can score highly on your MCAT on test day. And the more stuff that you can figure out you need to work on by just getting stuff wrong in quizzes, you're setting yourself up to succeed on test day. Very, very good stuff. So pick 1 and 2 topics, focus on doing some practice, allow yourself to get stuff wrong, and then learn from the stuff that you got wrong. Review that stuff that you covered in the previous week and find out what you got to do in order to make the improvements that you got to make to see better results in those respective sections. And again, stay on top of your mental health, stay on top of how you're feeling. Very much running a marathon here and not a sprint. So make sure you're pacing yourself. Again, Pomodoro, those blocks with those breaks in the middle, that's really, really great for pacing yourself as opposed to doing these massive, insane study binges. So, yeah, particularly the day before your practice exam, definitely good day to lay low, lay on the side of low, not too terribly crazy. So, I've talked so much about practice and review being very efficient. So, what's that look like? What are you going to do in all that? Start with practice. Start with a practice exam. An entire practice exam. Oh, but I don't feel ready. Again, you're not doing all this studying so that you can be ready for a practice exam. You're taking the practice exams so that you can be ready for the real thing, right? Allow yourself to get stuff wrong on the practice exam so that you can learn. I promise you that is the most effective way to learn all this stuff. And hey, what is the best way for you to learn what kind of stuff you need to focus on? Take a practice exam. You will get a mountain of things that you specifically need to work on. I mean, and it will be a mountain of things, but it will be condensed from the several stacks of review books that you may already have, right? It'll help you to narrow down even that into a more manageable list. Stuff that you actually encountered. So take a practice exam, then review those sections. Figure out what was not working for you. Figure out what things kind of did work for you. Because there's going to be some good knowledge knocking about in the back of your brain that'll just come up when you don't expect it to. And so utilize your review process to figure out, ooh, I thought I needed to do a lot of study on this, but I was actually kind of getting a lot of this stuff right. Or, man, I didn't think I needed to review this thing, but I was missing so many questions on that. Gosh. Right? By doing that review, you're figuring out all the stuff that you have to work on. And in doing that, you can develop these action steps that are going to help you to get better on subsequent practice. And do that over and over and over and over again, and you will get really doggone good at this thing. You'll get a very great understanding of how topics are tested. You will see the same kind of usual suspects over and over and over and over again. These things represent the highest yield materials. And by doing all that practice and seeing these things over and over and over and over again, you will be gaining a super in-depth understanding of the most important and most frequently tested stuff. So it's really good stuff. And if you get scared by something, you see it on an exam, it's like, oh gosh, I hope I don't ever see that again. And then you don't ever see that again. That will give you some amount of reassurance in terms of, oh, that was just one of these low yield, one of these less important, just random things that they decided to throw in there because I guess they had a few more questions that they needed to write. So it's really good. I understand it seems less efficient to start with practice. It's like, that seems like such a clunky process. It seems like I'm going to get all this stuff wrong and then like, why am I doing this? But it really is more efficient. It really is. The thing that's not efficient is spending 10 hours reading through subject books and then being actually tested on only like 2 of the things that you read in that 10 hours. That's inefficient. starting with practice, you don't have to worry about those kinds of inefficiencies because all the stuff that you're seeing in your practice is stuff that you know will be tested because you were just tested on it in the quiz, right? So it is really, really good. And it's different. We know that it's different. But it's good. It's good. We wouldn't say it wasn't good. We're saying it because it's good. So what does the review process look like? It could take a lot of different forms, but the most important component of effective review is that it's introspective. You got to consider, hey, why was I tempted by the wrong answer? Why did I reject the right answer? Where did I go wrong? Where was I confused? What did I not know? What was this thing? All this stuff. You got to think about that stuff. And you got to think about that stuff before you take a look at the explanation. Because, again, it has to be active. It has to be engaged. You have to be thinking about the things that you need to work on. If you're not doing that, you're not getting the most valuable fruits of that labor. If you just get a question wrong and then immediately look at the explanation, you're not getting that introspective, oh, what do I need to work on? What things am I struggling with? If you abide by this two-error principle or some variation thereof, you will really be benefiting yourself. So be introspective. Do your best to put all the pieces together and determine why you missed a question and how you could have gotten it right before you check that explanation. And then when you've reached the absolute limit of your own ability to figure out what you did wrong, then you can go ahead and check against the explanation and fill in those gaps. But again, you want to be active and you want to be thinking about as much of this stuff on your own as you can, because that's what's going to be the most helpful. That's what's going to be the most permanent. It's going to stick in your brain. It's going to be the most applicable to you as an individual, right? So that's all good stuff. So that question that I just put on the screen, what I want you to do right now is I want you to go back and I want you to give that question a shot. I want you to go back and I want you to give that question a shot. And then we will resume. I hope you actually went back and did this one because it's a really good one. And it allows us to talk about all these different things that you can review when you're actually doing this process in your own studies. So if you did go back and actually do this question, I'm willing to wager that it was pretty frightening looking at all this stuff. What's a semicarbazide? What's a semicarbazone? What is this reagent? What are these reactants? What is this product? I have no idea what any of this stuff is. Oh my gosh. I feel like I had a note card for this in organic chemistry, but I don't remember what it was. Oh my gosh. All that stuff left me years ago. So I imagine looking at this, it was pretty frightening. But then take a look at the actual question. Part of the question it says compound F contains what functional groups? Oh. So I guess I don't really need to know these things. I guess I'm just looking here. But in compound F, there's still a lot going on here. I've never seen compound F before. What is that? Right, so maybe there was another bit of fear there. But then, okay, answer choices. You have some functional groups here. Okay, this one, it's been a while. This one, it's been a while. But maybe you recognize that one. Maybe you're just like, oh, well, that's a phenyl group, right? Just that aromatic functionality there, classic. You see it everywhere. I know that one. I actually remember that one. Organic chemistry, drawing those hexagons with the lines in them, got really good at that. So there's a hexagon with some lines in it. I know that's a phenyl group. Answer choice D. That's the only one that has the phenyl group. So is that it? Is that the answer? Oh yeah, that's the answer. And this is the way that the MCAT operates. The MCAT is less about what you know and more about what you can figure out. You need to know things, of course. You have to know what a phenyl group is in order to do that little strategy that I just outlined there. But it's less about what you know, more about what you can figure out. The MCAT is less interested in your ability to look at this and know absolutely everything. It is far more interested in your ability to think about, hey, what do I actually need to solve this problem? what's familiar, what's unfamiliar, what's useful, what's not useful, determining what is useful and arriving at the correct answer this way. So the MCAT is a test of critical thinking. It's a test of strategy. It's a test of problem solving. This is one of the ways that it's also very, very interdisciplinary and very, very clinically relevant, because determining what's useful, determining what's important, determining what's not important, solving problems even when you are frightened, even when you are afraid, even when you don't entirely know what to do. Sounds like what a doctor needs to do like every day. So this stuff is very, very clinically relevant, even though at times it doesn't seem like it. So this is an example of a very MCAT style problem and a very MCAT style solution to arrive at that problem. So wow, think of all the stuff that we could have learned from this. It's like, oh, I got really scared by all this material. I got so anxious. I got so nervous when I saw that. Well, hey, I didn't actually need to be, because a lot of that stuff didn't end up mattering at the end. There's a whole lot of detail, and the question, part of the question, is actually contained in a relatively small part. Cool, that's a thing to learn. Maybe next time I see a problem that has a whole bunch of scary stuff in it, I'll be, wait a minute, this one may not be so bad. And I'll be able to go through and maybe find a back door or something like that. So a whole lot of strategy, a whole lot of test-taking, mindset stuff that we can take away from this. Then there's just the actual content here. The most important content is going to be the stuff that shows up in those answer choices, because if it's in the answer choices, that means it's got to be in our brains, or at the very least, we have been able to think about it and arrive at that solution. So if you don't know what an I mean is, now's a great time to start studying it. If you don't know what an amine is, now's a great time to start studying it. If you don't know what an amide is, amide, I say amide. If you don't know what that functional group is, now's a great time to start studying it. The wrong answer choices, even though they're not necessarily containing things, well, the amide and the imine, I suppose, were in there, but, carbonyl, hydroxyl, these functional groups, even though they weren't necessarily correct answers in this case, because they've showed up in those answer choices, they could be correct answers in another question. So we have a whole bunch of content to study. We have this question, that process of thinking critically and arriving, at a solution anyway. Even if we maybe didn't know everything, there's so much you can do just with a single problem. And so practice is so valuable, making the most of that practice, being introspective, being reflective, and making the most of it. Quality over quantity. That's how you succeed on this thing. And one thing that we recommend that you do whenever you go through and do all this practice and review is to record and write all this stuff down. Record, how are you going to fix it? Why'd you miss it? What are you going to do to get better? It's very, very important to keep track of all this stuff that you're doing so that you can act on it and guide future studies that you do. When you're reviewing, summarize, hey, why'd I miss it? Did I not understand something? Did I forget the steps? Did I forget some fact? Well, I identified the level of it. Was it a major concept that I screwed up? Was it a strategic element, a problem-solving, critical thinking element, close reading element? Was it just some tiny little fact that I didn't know? There are many, 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 many different types of mistakes that you could make, and all those mistakes are going to require different kinds of solutions. So do you need to review a major concept from some chapter of a book? Maybe that's what you have to do. Do you have to just hit some more practice to develop that method, to develop that strategy, to make that stuff click for you consistently? Maybe that's what you got to do. Do you got to put a small fact on a flashcard and just review it weekly? Although probably not more than 1 hour in a day. Be careful with those Anki decks. Those can take up a lot of time. Maybe that's what you got to do. It's a nice mental warm-up, like 15, 20 minutes before you start studying, just to use some quick flashcards. Anyway, practice and review, it's very, 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 very important, very, very, very useful, and it will no doubt be the most productive and best use of those 2-3 hour long blocks that you're choosing to study. Start with a practice exam, get a list of all these topics that you have to review from that practice exam, and then go through this process. Do some practice, do some review, figure out where your opportunities are, take the action steps that you need to address those opportunities, and then do all that again. And if you do that a bunch, you'll be really, really good at this thing. And so those are the big, 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 big points. And of course, there are a lot of resources that you have available to help you in this process. And you better believe that we've got a bunch of them. Come on, we got to plug our stuff in our video. So stop wasting time, start personalizing. Do you want a calendar that's going to teach you and show you everything, all the timing stuff that I was talking about earlier, blocking out your schedule, right? You want a calendar that's going to do that for you? We got you. Do you want content books that have all the latest and greatest AMC content that's being constantly rewritten and constantly refreshed like every year? We got that for you. Right? Do you want the best practice available, content specific, targeted questions? Thousands of really, really tough passage based, really awesome questions. We got you. Explanations, all this practice. We got you. Explanations for all of the practice. Well, not all of the practice. All of our practice we have explanations for. The most important of the AMC resources, we even have explanations, video and text explanations for those too. And an AI tutor thing in order to break down expert videos. Yeah, it's all good stuff. It's all good stuff. And yeah, we got you in that regard. So come prep with us. Come prep with us. Come work. Come let us help you on MCAT stuff. We offer a number of things: comprehensive courses, boot camps, tutoring one-on-one, building your own on-demand study live class thing. Admissions consulting too. We offer that as well. And so we got you, right? It's a lot to think about. And hopefully throughout the course of this video, I've given you all a whole number of things that you can't think about. But if you kind of want to take away the guesswork, and if you want to rely on our expertise in terms of like what's the best thing to do, yeah, come prep with us. We're more than happy to add 15 or more points to your MCAT score. So we will help you in that regard. Let us know how we can help you. We're happy to do so. Hopefully, this video has helped you to some extent in terms of getting started, in terms of figuring out what you have to do in order to succeed for a January MCAT. So come prep with us. And best of luck, best of skill in your MCAT future journeys beyond. There you go. We did it!